Hi, and welcome to the news headlines at this hour. Lebanon's information minister resigned on Sunday as the country grapples with the aftermath of the devastating blast that ripped through the capital and raised public anger to new levels. The resignation came as public anger is mounting against the ruling elite, blamed for the chronic mismanagement and corruption that is believed to be behind the explosion in the Beirut port warehouse. Hundreds of tons of highly explosive material was stored in the waterfront hangar, and a blast sent a shockwave that killed at least 160 people, wounded nearly 6,000, and defaced the coastline of Beirut, destroying hundreds of buildings. Manal Abdel Samad said in her resignation letter that her change remained elusive and she regrets failing to fulfill the aspiration of the Lebanese people. The old Korean Central Intelligence Agency, a fearsome tool of terror for bygone South Korean dictators, has now lost the right to spy on politicians and torture foes of the regime. Instead, the agency, renamed the National Intelligence Service years ago, is morphing into an instrument for North-South Korean reconciliation. Nothing shows the changing role of the NIS more sharply than the appointment by South Korea's liberal president Moon Jae-in of an old-time leftist politico as NIS director. Imprisoned in 2006 for agreeing to send North Korea $500 million to bring about the first North-South Korean summit in June 2000 between then South Korean President Kim Dae-jung and North Korea's Kim Jong-il, father of current ruler Kim Jong-un. The 78-year-old Park Jae-won hopes to use the agency to get back in good graces of the North Koreans. A traditional Afghan council concluded on Sunday with hundreds of delegates agreeing to free 400 Taliban members, paving the way for an early start to negotiations between Afghanistan's warring sides. The declaration, read out in both of Afghanistan's official languages of Pashto and Farsi, calls for an immediate start to negotiations and ceasefire. The move looks to bring the United States a little closer to returning its troops and ending its longest military engagement. No data has been set, but negotiations between Kabul's political leadership and Taliban are expected to begin as early as next week and will most likely to be held in the Middle Eastern state of Qatar, where the Taliban maintains a political office. Belarusians are voting on whether to grant their authoritarian president a sixth term in office following a campaign marked by unusually strong demonstrations by opposition supporters frustrated with the country's stumbling economy, political repression, and weak response to the coronavirus pandemic. Incumbent Alexander Lukashenko, in office for 26 years, has made it clear he won't hesitate to quash any attempt by his opponents to protest the results of Sunday's election. "If you provoke, you will get the same answer," he said after casting his ballot. "Do you want to try to overthrow the government, break something, wound, offend, and expect me to someone to kneel in front of you and kiss them and the sand onto which you wander? This will not happen." Sri Lanka's former president Mahendra Rajapaksa was sworn in as the Prime Minister for the fourth time on Sunday after his party secured a landslide victory in parliamentary elections that cemented his family's hold on power. Rajapaksa took oath before his younger brother, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, at the prominent Buddhist temple on the outskirts of the capital, Colombo. Mahendra Rajapaksa served as the island nation's president from 2005 to 2015 and is highly popular among the ethnic majority in Sinhalese for ending the country's 25-year-old civil war against Tamil rebels in 2009. He was first elected Prime Minister in 2004 and again appointed for brief periods in 2018 and 2019. Sri Lanka's People's Front, the party led by the Rajapaksa brothers, won 145 seats in the 225-member parliament in the election last Wednesday. Its main opponent obtained only 54 seats. A party representing ethnic minority Tamils won 10 seats and 16 others were split among 12 small parties. Thousands of demonstrators thronged the streets near the official residence of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in central Jerusalem on Saturday night. In a renewed show of strength, and weeks of protests against the Israeli leaders showed no signs of slowing. Throughout the summer, thousands of Israelis have taken to the streets to call on Netanyahu to resign, protesting his handling of the country's coronavirus crisis and saying he should not remain in office while on trial of corruption charges. Self-employed workers whose businesses have been hurt by the economic crisis also joined Saturday's march. Though Netanyahu has tried to downplay the protest, the gatherings only appear to be getting stronger. Brazil surpassed a grim milestone of 100,000 deaths from COVID-19 on Saturday night, and 5 months after the first reported case, the country has not shown signs of crushing the disease. The nation of 210 million people has been reporting an average of more than 1,000 daily deaths from the pandemic since late May and reported 905 for the latest 24 hours period. The Health Ministry said there had been a total of 3,12,412 confirmed infections with the new coronavirus. Death and infection tolls second only to the United States. And as in many nations, experts believe that both numbers are severe undercounts due to insufficient testings. Protesters in Utah who splashed paint on a prosecutor's office could be given life sentence after they were accused of acting as a gang. Salt Lake City District Attorney Sim Gill, whose office was targeted by Black Lives Matter marchers, issued the charges. Critics include the city's mayor have called the felony charges excessive. The paint splashing occurred during a 9 July protest against racism. According to Utah's criminal code, the gang enhancement felonies Mr. Gill filed are applied to offenses committed in concert with 2 or more persons in relation to a criminal street gang. In effect, prosecutors are calling participants in a protest gang members, a lawyer for the American Civil Liberties Union told reporters. Indian authorities had practiced for years for a jet overshooting the tabletop runway at Kozhikode Airport, but local resident Fazal Puthiya Khat was not prepared for the blood and death of the real thing. The 32-year-old businessman and his neighbors were first on the scene after an Air India Express plane clashed over the runway over a 10-meter bank and broke in two during a fierce storm late on Friday, killing 18 people and injuring more than 120. Puthiya Khat, the other, rushed out after hearing a blast-like roar. This is Jyoti reporting for Our Voice.